Hi, I'm Rosh from Energy Matters. Welcome to our podcast, Road to Zero, where we dive headfirst into all things renewable. Join us as we chat to industry experts, tech specialists, and some of your favorite TV and radio personalities, asking the renewable energy questions that you want answers to. Our goal, a zero carbon future. Today, I am very excited to be joined by Tye Spierings, who is the Director of Ultimate Windows. Hello, Tye.
Hi, Rosh. Thanks for having me. Good morning.
Mate, you're very, very welcome. Thank you for joining me. We thought we'd mix things up on this week's show. We normally have lots of solar power technology, inverters, battery manufacturers, and a few celebs. Today, we have a celeb, obviously, as well as the fact that you're Ultimate Windows, helping the building and construction industry. And also a fellow participant with me on various TV shows. So I'm obviously very delighted to have you on there, mate.
Thanks, Rosh. Appreciate it. Yeah, very much so.
I believe that's your handiwork behind us.
It is. These are our windows and doors that we've finally put into our home, which is a nice change. We've had many homes over the past, but family finally put the nice energy efficient PVC windows in.
Mate, fantastic stuff. All right, we'll definitely talk more about those windows very soon because there's a lot I want to find out about, especially given that we're looking at doing a renovation ourselves soon. But Tye, before we get into it, can you just kind of outline your journey to date, what you've been up to before you joined Ultimate Windows and set that up?
Sure. Well, we're actually in our 18th year this year, so been around for quite a while. Was a little bit, I suppose, of an evolution in terms of the business. We started, my father started, was a builder, and I came back to work in the family business with my then girlfriend, now wife, and we would just order some aluminium extrusion, commercial frame from Capral at a drive down the 4-kilometre driveway. We get the tractor out, that we fashion some tines from some forklift tines on the tractor, jimmy this material off the truck. Sometimes the truck would get bogged and Capral would hate us. So we'd then make the windows just with a drop saw out the back shed, in the farm shed. And then we had a local glazier come in and put the glass in for his construction jobs, because he got a little bit frustrated with the local glaziers who were taking their time and thought, stuff this, I'm going to do it myself. So that's how we sort of started. It certainly wasn't any deliberate entry into windows. And then one day he came back from the Melbourne Home Show and said, right, we're manufacturing thermally broken windows, and I've put it all in your name. So loan was there, and we just started making the windows from there. So we quickly realised that, a very energy efficient product, the thermally broken double glaze system. This is 16 odd years ago, so it was very hard to try and find the work back then. You had to go quite a lot of jobs, you'd go far and wide. So we quickly set up a display up at Canberra at the HIA Home Ideas Centre, and then moved into the Canberra market from there. So always new builds, and you just go out and fight for the jobs. We ended up bringing another only aluminium system in, and about 8 years ago we were introduced to UPVC, and I'd spent the best part of 10 years telling everybody PVC is no good, it's terrible, blah, 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 blah. First time I manufactured a PVC window, all our factory guys, and we're just, this is amazing, this is actually really good. The more we manufactured it, the more we looked into the history of the product over in Europe. It's now 70% of the market over there. In America, it's over 50% of the market. And we just knew with the energy ratings changing in Australia that this product would end up being the most popular window product in Australia down the track. So we made the change to UPVC completely as of about 4 years ago, and you really started to manufacture it about 6 years ago, and it's really launched us and grown into the company we are today.
I mean, I hadn't even heard of PVC until Renovate and Rebuild last season, and then whilst we're filming, one of the houses we're filming had UPVC installed, and then obviously you guys were a regular feature on the show as well. So I was like, what the hell is this UPVC? Now, obviously, being all about sustainability, zero carbon future, and the first time I hear about PVC, I'm like, plastic, is this really is this helping the game, or is it taking us backwards? Can you quickly explain what UPVC is? I mean, what and how it is actually environmentally friendly?
Sure. So I suppose the benefit of PVC as opposed to aluminium is that PVC is 5,000 times less transmissive than what aluminium is. So aluminium, fantastic product in terms of it's metal. It's relatively cheap, although it does use a lot of electricity to manufacture the raw material. It's really, really great at conducting heat. One of the best materials in the world at conducting heat. So not the best material to make a window out of, which is why you get that condensation. Even on a double glazed aluminium window, you'll get that condensation running through the frame. You'll get that cold feeling on the frame because that heat can just transfer from inside to out, unless that frame isn't thermally broken. PVC itself, as you mentioned, plastic product. The U in UPVC actually stands for unplasticized, so it's a hardened polyvinyl chloride. So what that is, it is oil-derived products mixed with chlorine. So that's where the vinyl chlorine portion comes into, and that's actually derived from salt from the ocean. That's a big polymer, big long polymer. They run it through these screw presses to make the extrusion, the window extrusion. So while it's not a silver bullet in terms of it's completely renewable like a timber, it doesn't have the maintenance issues that a timber or a window like that has. So it really sits in that bang for your buck, energy efficiency versus cost, and it is completely 100% recyclable. So it's completely a recyclable product. So it really sits in that sort of middle ground where it's really energy efficient, it's great bang for your buck. And in terms of windows, we just basically came to that conclusion that there was no other window system that had the energy efficiency at the price point. And so that's where we invested in the PVC frames.
I mean, that's the reality of it. And for everyone I've spoken to who sort of uses this product on all their new builds and all their renovations, I mean, they also talk about the fact that it's its ability to obviously keep a home cool, and also more so from a reuse and longevity. I mean, it lasts forever. So there's just so many plus points to it. Yes, of course, it's like there is that sort of PVC component to it, but once again, in terms of the manufacturing process that you've described, as well as the long-term benefits of it and the fact that it's recyclable, I mean, that really helps you achieve net zero, which I know a lot of people love about that product. So, really talking in layman's terms, because I personally only operate well in layman, despite loving technology. How by installing your products can you actually improve your energy efficiency in your home and reduce your energy bills? I mean, how?
Sure. So probably, I suppose, the majority of our business now is replacement windows. So we have about 10 to 15 carpenters on staff, and they will just go out to existing homes, pull out the old windows, put new windows in, actually seal up around the windows, trim externally if they need to, put on new architraves, and expansion foam between the stud and the window frame. So it's not just the quality of the window itself, but it's the installation of the window around the existing home as well. So that's where you get that real airtightness, which is a big increase compared to an existing, can be a timber window. Sometimes you can see gaps 10 millimeters wide on some old timber windows that are just have failed, haven't been kept up to date with their maintenance, or even the old aluminium windows that are 20, 30, 40 years old. They've got some huge gaps in there. The old sliders just don't have the weather piles in them anymore, or maybe they didn't have them at all in the first place. But there's a lot of really poor quality windows out there, unfortunately. Benefit of our PVC windows, majority are double compression seals, so you get that really tight seal between the window frame and the sash, so you can still have a nice big opening for a tilt and turn window, for example, or a casement or an awning. So you're still getting that nice airflow through, but then when you want to shut the window down to either keep the heat out in summer or keep the winter out in winter, the cool out in winter, then that's where those compression seals can really seal up, and you don't get that heat transfer that you do throughout the timber or the aluminium windows.
And once again, I mean, the example I can relate to that one is when we're filming last year, we went to one of the properties, once again, that was installed with your product. And I've got aluminium frames at home. I mean, I still live in an apartment until I move into our new house. But when it's cold, and like obviously in Melbourne, it's freezing, and you put your hand against the aluminium, when it is cold, you can just feel all that cold come flying into your apartment, which cools it down incredibly fast. Whereas with your product, it was a really blustery, horrible day to film, but I just would put my hand around the frame of the window, and there was nothing, like literally absolutely nothing. So I think, fundamentally, if you're watching or listening to this at home, put your hand right now by your window frames and just have a feel of and just see if you can experience any cool, or if it's hot where you are, the heat coming through. Because fundamentally for me, that's the massive difference it can make. And that also then it will predetermine whether or not you use, have your air conditioning on to heat your place up or to cool it down. Because I know in our household, my wife is like, right, I'm working from home, it's freezing cold, it's 8 degrees, the heater goes on. And, fair play, it has to be done, but that's not helping anyone. So, very good, Tye. I think
absolutely.
It's
yeah, it doesn't take much. And really, I suppose the comfort is the big thing that you can't measure. And that's really the underlying positive feedback we get from customers when we replace the windows. Yes, they reduce their energy bills. Yes, the sound gets reduced, but just the comfort level. They sit and they can feel the heater's not running. I haven't had to turn the heater on today, and it's only 15 degrees outside, or it could be 12 degrees outside, and it's still comfortable inside. It's still nice.
Look, absolutely. And I think, back in the day, people would just compromise. I mean, energy bills, were horrific, still are horrific. But really, anyone that doesn't want to be faced with a crazy quarterly electricity bill will keep the heating off in winter, keep the aircon off in summer, then just grin and bear it. And they're, not happy. I mean, they're sitting in conditions that, should be the case, which is why we're pro solar and saying get solar power installed. So during the daytime, you can have a heater on, you can have your air conditioning on. And at the same token, with products like yours, you don't need to consume as much electricity throughout the daytime, which means if you install a battery, you could be charging up that battery as well as powering a home that's not using so much electricity, which means you've then got electricity at night time, early morning with your battery, rather than just using it throughout the day. Love it, mate. Very complimentary. We're going to end up doing a lot of work together, Tye. So let's talk about Renovate or Rebuild, because it was awesome to have you guys involved last year. I mean, I know James really well, McGregor, as well as James Treble and all those guys, and Sam obviously filming. And once again, I didn't know of any of these other brands other than the ones I introduced to the show. So what had you get involved with Renovate and Rebuild? And obviously, I know you're on season 2 as well, just coming up. What drove that?
It was something that we'd always wanted to do. As you mentioned, you'd not heard of PVC before. That's the vast majority of customers. So really getting the word out there about this product that you may have heard of, and a lot of Melburnians that do know PVC didn't have a good experience with it back in the 70s or 80s or those types of things. So we really wanted to I suppose, get the word out that this product is available and that it's a really good quality product. It's not the old cheap stuff that was brought out 20, 30 years ago. It's a really good European-made, high-quality product that has really taken over the European market and the American market, and it should be a really popular window system in Australia. It just isn't yet. So we'd always wanted to do that, looked at other programs, those types of things. None of them had a real focus on energy efficiency. None of them had an emphasis on that. And once we saw that Renovate and Rebuild did, we're right on board straight away.
No, fantastic. I mean, what products did you feature last time? I know it's probably about a year ago, but what I suppose you're just building or introducing the range of Ultimate Windows at that point?
That's right, yeah. So we did have basically the vast majority of range of the windows that we do. We had our tilt and turns, we had our casement windows, we even had our Magna Line bifolding system, some sliders, big lift and slide doors. So there are a lot of different products that are available that a lot of Australians wouldn't be used to because they're not in an aluminium window system, for example, but they're available as a PVC window, which is great.
No, that's fantastic. And obviously you're on season 2, which we're very excited about. And filming has commenced. I'm actually filming it in a couple of days' time in Newcastle. What can you give us any sneak previews as to what you'll be featuring on this upcoming season?
I actually did a little bit of a feature at the showroom, so could get the whole range of products there, and it was great catching up with James and Sam there to go through the filming there. So there's full range of products that we can offer in terms of sealing up the home and making it more energy efficient.
Mate, that's absolutely fantastic. And I have got a few questions regarding some changes to the construction code, but before I do, I know one of the questions I asked you before we started, and I'm sure there's going to be people out there thinking the same thing. I'm doing a renovation, so it's really looking at probably replacing all of our windows because the home is quite old. It's about 30 years old. So replacing the window frames, replacing the windows. I'm looking at builders and designers and going through those conversations at the moment, and I'm clear that I want to have UPVC installed in terms of for our windows, and that new product you're talking about, which is similar to bifold. That looks something that would definitely want to entertain. But inside of when you're scoping that project out and looking at renovating your property and removing the old and installing the new, is that something that you would then go to your builder and say, hey, can you use Ultimate Windows? Or is it something that the consumer can come directly to you guys and say, hey, this is what I'm doing. These are our designs that we had drawn up. Can you guys do that for us?
Absolutely. Both options will work. So we will work in with builders that are doing a full, what I'd almost say, a gut renovation. So pulling them apart, it almost becomes like a new build for us then, in terms of the studs are brought back to bare studs. We can just install the windows like we would a normal new build home. But we can also come into someone's home, just pull the old windows out, put the new ones in. It's usually in conjunction with someone has already done their sealing up the home, making sure reducing the drafts, maybe done even the blow-in insulation, put the solar panels on, improve the air conditioning, put a split system in, for example. So it's usually we're a part of the, I suppose, a holistic improvement of the home. But yeah, we can certainly do it as just our carpenters come in on site, pull the old windows out, put the new ones in, seal everything up, finishing everything off, or we can build in with the builders and the architects.
No, fantastic. All right, that's great to know. So a few quick questions regarding the construction code. I'm aware there has been a few changes to the code recently, more so specifically around sort of raising the minimum energy efficiency standard. Can you give us a bit of a brief on that?
It's been a very long time coming. I suppose it's why we transferred over to PVC many years ago, and why we've been focused on energy efficiency. So yeah, we were hoping that it'd come in this year. In Victoria, it has been pushed out to 1st of May, 2024. So it was the 1st of October. So now the 1st of May next year. Yeah, look, I suppose from industry point of view, in terms of us and other UPVC manufacturers, we know that we've spent the money, we've increased our production capacity, we've spent the money on the machine, so the production capacity is there. But there are a lot of even aluminium companies that have brought out their own thermal brake systems. So industry is ready in terms of the window industry to transition into this energy efficient phase. It's just something I suppose the builders have to get used to. They will have to build a little bit differently, or they will have to certainly look at sealing things up in terms of the air infiltrations when those come in future NCC releases. But the transition from 6-star to 7-star homes will just be, I suppose, a little bit of tweaking. It might be some thicker insulation, a little bit of design change, or increasing your glazing requirements up to, say, a PVC, a timber, or a thermally broken window, or even reducing the size of that glazing, because that is the big change with the move from 7 to 6-star.
No, gotcha. So if I wanted to live in a 7-star home, and for anyone listening to this right now, I mean, is it easy to do in an existing property? I mean, you got your home, you like your house, you don't really want to bowl it or sort of gut it out completely. I mean, or really, is it really something that you have to do as a full-scale renovation to get the 7 stars?
Certainly something you can do periodically. So, for example, sealing up the home, you can do your blow-in insulation, or you can improve your bats in the ceiling, replace your windows, replace your heating and cooling. So certainly ways you can get up there. There are a lot of companies out there that can help with this. Many in Melbourne, Canberra that we work in. So they will go through and basically do an energy review of the home to look to increase the energy efficiency. So it certainly is possible for an existing home. Of course, it's harder because you're dealing with a home that's already existing there. So certainly a few more challenges, but it's certainly not impossible. And obviously with new build, you can increase your glazing requirements, you can reduce your window size, you can beef up your insulation. So there's definitely a lot of options you can have.
And I know this is the $1 million question, but if I had a 4-bedroom home and I wanted to install, Ultimate Windows throughout my entire home, I mean, what would you say is the typical spend of the average consumer doing it, fitting out their entire property with your product?
Yeah, it's always a hard one. So all we can do is kind of give ranges, because someone will have just some standard small size windows, or someone could have had floor-to-ceiling glazing across 3 sides of their 4-bedroom home. So you'll tell them, oh yeah, it's only 15 grand for that home, and then all of a sudden it's 50.
Oh.
So yeah, exactly. Or you might want triple glazing, or you might want low E glass, or you might want lift and slide doors, for example, which are more expensive. So generally we'll say a range between an 800 a square metre to 2,000 a square metre is what you can spend for a PVC window. So that, I suppose, gives you a very, very rough guide, but you're looking around those sort of figures as a little bit of a budget.
No, fair play. All right, thanks very much for that. I won't hold you accountable to that $10,000 you mentioned at the start. So with just some general questions. So more so they're coming from your background, obviously, sort of commencing construction as well as obviously working with your old man. But what would you say the biggest challenges are facing builders today?
It's definitely that transition into the new NCC into 7-star. So we speak to a lot of builders, and of course we're making the phone call saying, are you prepared? We've sort of done a little bit of not just about windows, but these are certain things that other builders have done to achieve the 7 stars. So there's a lot that I suppose not focused on it as yet because it's not a requirement. It's really about the HIA, the MBA. Everyone's putting out these trainings, so it's important to get to those just to join in a podcast or join in a session with one of those. So you're really across the changes that are coming. So it is going to be a bit of a challenge. It's not just the same old construction methods, and it's not just this change. I think in another 3 years, the requirements will probably increase a little bit more, or there'll be a certain levels increasing as well. So it's about getting yourself educated in these more energy efficient construction methods.
And look, I suppose with the shift towards passive design, and at zero homes, do you expect to see the majority of builders incorporate energy efficient products, or just do the balance, sort of use a combination of cheaper old school products alongside with what they have to just achieve that sort of minimum standard?
Yeah, look, it's always a mix. We generally deal with, because of the market that we're in, we deal with the builders that want to build your 8-star homes or 7-star, 8-star passive house type of homes. So we're constantly having those conversations with those builders and architects that are in that area. A lot of builders that don't build in that area, they might build a first home buyer market, for example. They're sort of not as focused on what the changes are as yet, but you can really see the attitudes changing towards it. So people are having those conversations, they're getting used to it. So look, it's something that I suppose is going to become more and more prevalent as the changes we get closer to that May 1 date where the requirements come in. So it's good. It's something that needs to happen, that we do build some homes that are really leaky, really drafty and really poor performing. So it's short-term pain for long-term gain.
No, fair play. Look, this is a kind of left field question, just more from opinion. But obviously we've seen a lot of construction companies go bust over the past, sort of few months. And look, a lot of that's driven by the media. Of course, there's the trend of the media to say that construction is, is in decline, and they're creating, obviously there's a lot of, what's real, what's not type pressure. But just from as a builder to looking to his colleagues in the industry, what would you say the pain what pain is being suffered, and what is driving this, sort of this, if you like, theme almost of builders going bust and construction going bust and homes being, kind of left unfinished?
Yeah, well, we had a similar sort of situation the last couple of years, or 18 months, I suppose, where the price rises from suppliers were just never ending. And we've had glass go up by over 30% for us to buy. So that is a massive cost for us. And usually glass is it's between 30 to 50% of our overall window cost. And for it to go up by over 30%, in some products 50%. So they're huge increases. And when, for example, we were in the same market for someone's home that wanted to sign up to replace their windows 6 months before, we kept the prices consistent and we absorbed those cost increases from our suppliers, and it hurt. You'd go in every day and you knew you were going to lose thousands of dollars for that day if everything
That's horrible.
swimmingly well. Yeah. So it was tough, trying times. You knew you were going to get to the end of it because you only had that block of, okay, I've signed up this many customers, we'll keep all them consistent. Then you've had those price rises. So you knew those days were going to end, but still, yeah, it was tough. We've never been busier in 18 years of business, and you're coming in and making a loss every day. It kind of gives you a bit of a bummer, but those builders and I suppose us and those types of companies that can get through to the end and see the light at the end of the tunnel, then look, the price rise is going to stop, that inflationary pressure is going to stop, and we can get back to just making good quality windows, good quality homes.
Do you expect to see the cost of glass coming down? I mean, is it indicative of things that you've seen in terms of the conversations you're having with the manufacturers that, look, you know what, this has happened, you know, our sort of raw material costs have kind of steadied off or dropped down? Is that on the horizon, like visibly on the horizon, or is it just kind of we're kind of hoping it's going to happen soon?
I certainly hope so, Rosh. Yeah, certainly haven't had any indications that it's going back down again, but I really do hope it is. Yeah, I do remember after the GFC many years ago, much the same thing happened. Price rises went up, and it wasn't until more competition came in that the prices actually did come down again back in those days, showing how old I am now. So yeah, look, it's a cyclical thing that I think there was certainly with even transport costs. You got told it was 10,000, 12,000 for a container to come from Asia into Australia, and now it's down to $500. So huge differences. So will that come through? It always does come through to the end consumer after the competition increases. So yeah, we're hopeful that that will flow through in the next 12 months or so, and I think it will. But yeah, certainly got one or two fingers on toes.
Absolutely. No, definitely. Yeah, go have everything crossable. You know, I think you've done a fantastic job today, mate. Obviously, your product, in my opinion, and many others' opinion, is fantastic. So there'll be more of that coming up on this season of Renovate or Rebuild. Just a couple of quick questions on a zero carbon future. Obviously, that's what we stand for. And once again, just more from your own opinion. But what measurable impact would you say climate change has had on the construction industry? I mean, so looking at, you know, there's been a lot of vocal opinion about climate change, about the changes as a, you know, to our environment, to our weather patterns as a direct result. Would you have seen from your perspective that, you know, those impacts have flowed through now to construction?
I think we're finally having the conversations that we need to. So this change from 6-star to 7-star, as I mentioned before, to me it feels like it's been on the cards for 15 years. So now that it's finally actually happening, and we're at the point where we're building homes that we can put the sensors in, we can measure air infiltration with the blower door tests, we can it's almost to the point where you're measuring the comfort level of a home. It's not just here, this is what a home should feel better, and there's no real measuring of that. So we can do our blower door test, we can test the temperature levels inside out, we can measure the draftiness, all those types of things. So there's real measurable tests that we can do now, and I think that's a great thing for construction, that we're not just, right, here's your sets of plans and this is what the home should perform like. It's the home should perform like this, and we'll test it to make sure it does perform at that level. So we haven't had that in the past, and I think that's a great thing for particularly homes in Australia to have. And that's where we can really move towards that net zero home and that really energy efficient home.
No, fantastic, mate. And look, you know, what would be your top 3 design tips to anyone that listening or watching today when building a new home? What would you suggest they do?
Design tips. Well, number 1, speak to an architect. Speak to people that know what they're doing. Obviously, design specifically for your site, for your home, what you want to achieve. Obviously, the second one is making sure that home is orientated right, designed right, done really well. And third, how could I go past it, but have really good glazing in there. It's going to be one of the biggest costs in your home. Spend a few extra bucks instead of spending 50 grand on the kitchen. Spend a few extra bucks and get some good quality. You can upgrade the kitchen later on, but to upgrade the windows and everything else, it costs a lot more. So seal the home up really well. Get the insulation right, spend more money on your envelope. and then you can do the fancy stuff down the track.
No, good call off. Shamelessly branded you all over our screen as well. So for anyone listening and without video, ultimatewindows.com.au, jump on, check out the range, make some inquiries, and have some intelligent conversations about what you can do to your property as well. I mean, I, for one, I'm fortunate to have come across this product, inside of the stuff that we've been filming for Open Homes, as well as Renovate or Rebuild, which is, as we said, coming up again in February and filming right now on Channel 9 this time, which will be exciting. Yes. But once again, once you understand the technology and understand the impact it can make, that's when it kind of has you really, start to have it percolate and understand that there's more than one way to reduce your energy consumption, reduce your energy bill. Of course, we promote solar power, and we think it's the way forward, as well as having battery storage. But really, if you're using less energy, then it's almost like the prevention is better than cure. So to prevent that energy loss, to prevent using your air conditioning, heating or cooling, you seal that property up first, and then, as you said, you can then work on the climate and have it be the most, the nicest possible environment in which to exist in when you're actually in your own home.
Absolutely. Yep.
Mate, good stuff. Tye, thank you so much for joining us today. I do appreciate it. It's been awesome.
No worries at all, Ross. Appreciate it.
You're a legend. I'll see you on set.
Sounds good. Talk to you then.
All right, so, guys, thank you very much for listening and watching us today. We do appreciate it. It's been an epic episode here all about Ultimate Windows and UPVC. Before we do finish off, remember that if you have yet to go solar, or you have solar power in your home but you don't have battery storage as yet, jump onto our website and get 3 free solar quotes. And then whilst you're there, get an energy bill comparison as well. Our energy bills have gone up. Unfortunately, people have been receiving letters in the mail as we speak, talking about 20 to 30 to 40% price increases. So things are getting pretty hairy out there. There are lots of energy offers out there. All right, so jump onto our website and jump onto our energy compare and have a look at what your local retailers are offering. Hopefully there will be something out there that's a little bit cheaper than what you're paying right now. And you can just keep on chopping and changing. It's not like you have to change and sit with it for the next, for the next 2 or 3 years. Every single year you can do a review and have a look at what's new and consider whether or not it's worth making the change. Feel free to like and subscribe to us on YouTube, LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and see what we're up to. But in the meantime, thank you so much for your time watching this today, and wish you a fantastic week and a great end to the month. All the best.